Why do stars spin opposite at the poles?
Simple. It's perception.
Welcome, I'm the Triggered Limey, and today I was watching a Flat Earth versus Globe Earth debate that put a few thoughts in my head. This was a debate between Flatzoid and a new Nathan that I'd never seen before, as well as two Globers that I'd never actually seen, Mark Reed and Leah. It was a fantastic debate, definitely worth watching. I'll leave a link to the debate itself on Modern Day Debates, as well as links to Leo and Mark. So one of the things that got me thinking was, in his opening, Flatzoid briefly mentioned the black swan when discussing how we sometimes, and the important word is sometimes, see too far. I was actually kind of shocked because I kind of thought the black swan had started to die off, but let's look into this anyway.
We see observations way past than what we are supposed to be able to. This has been verified by countless observations over and over, for instance, like the black swan.
Ah yes, the famous black swan that somehow Flat Earthers still think actually supports their argument. So here's a picture of the black swan that Flat Earthers use as one of their examples of how we sometimes see too far. And it's also actually funny that they call it by this name, given how they use it, but we'll talk about that in a bit. First, here's a picture of what it looks like most of the time. As we would expect at times of standard refraction, the farthest oil rig is obstructed by Earth curvature. So why do they call it the black swan? Well, Flat Earthers have found a rare example that they think supports their claim. As far as swans, most that you would typically see, at least in like England, America for example, are white, but occasionally you will see a black one. So this seems like an anomaly. Now, any critical thinker that is seeing a black swan for the first time will probably say something like, okay, so black swans exist, but they are a rare occurrence, or indeed try to look into it further. Now, in reality, black swans aren't as rare as you might think. Talking about the animal here and, well, just the world in general, they're just extremely rare in certain parts of the world. But back to the point at hand, and more importantly, why I find this so hilarious. Flat Earthers have taken this rare occurrence of extreme refraction and decided to ignore the overwhelming majority of the time when we see most of the rig hidden by the horizon. In animal terms, it's like seeing one black swan and deciding that white swans are fake or don't exist. Now, as Flat Earthers, including Flatzoid, like to throw logical fallacies out as much as they can, it would be rude of me not to point out that this is a pure and simple case of confirmation bias, basically interpreting something to support their belief and ignoring the astounding amount of evidence that destroys it. It makes the black swan a ridiculous argument when trying to use it to support Flat Earth. Moving on.
Why do stars spin opposite at the poles?
Simple. It's perception. If you stand in front of a road and a car drives right to left or east to left, and you go to the other side of the road and turn around, that same car driving the same direction will now look like it's going left to right in your direction.
This bit made me laugh, hearing Flatzoid call it simple. Not because it isn't by any means, but because his explanation after saying that shows that he can't think scientifically at all. So let's look at the problem. Flatzoid tries to explain it by saying that you can see a car drive from right to left on the road. If you then cross the street and see that same car driving the same direction, the car now drives left to right. Now, while he's not wrong as far as his example goes, he's clearly not understanding this. His mistake? Trying to compare us inside Earth's atmosphere looking out to the stars to us being on the paths on either side of the road looking in. So let's try to teach Flatzoid with a better example. Here, let's say we are in a helicopter hovering high above a roundabout. Looking down, we can see that the car is travelling clockwise. This is the motion of the stars when viewed from the southern hemisphere. It doesn't matter if you face the other way or not. Your location on Earth determines which way they appear to move. This will not work on a flat Earth. This footage that we're looking at now was taken from New South Wales, Australia. Now we travel up to the northern hemisphere, specifically the island of Guernsey in the English Channel. As we can see, the stars are now moving counterclockwise. Looking at this, we can see that not only is Flatzoid suffering from the flat earther malady of being unable to think in 3 dimensions, but also that he's never actually tested this himself. It's either this or he is being intentionally dishonest.
I can actually bring that video up because I showed all the frames, and that's just the poisoning a well fallacy, and that already shows he's conceded he has no argument.
Whoa.
So this is Flatzoid's first video. Here he pauses it for a while, I guess to give people time to read, did you see it? And now, did you see it now? Now he's saying that this is the apparent horizon, and he's pointing out the top of the inferior mirage. I apologize that this is a bit boring. let's see where the capsule hits. And then right there is where he, lets the splash happen. Now, what's funny, I mean, you can see the obvious cut, and of course, he says you see it hits on the apparent horizon and not behind the curve, which is very easy to tell that's not the case, just because of how the direction that the splash comes out, the size of the splash that we can see at the horizon. We're not seeing the entire splash, but let's go further into all this. This is after Red analyzed the video, that Flatzoid had done, which we will look at in a bit. But let's see here. Since Red's rhetoric just claims I am dishonest, I decided to make a feedback video just to show him his error. I have placed his 4K video in line with my video. Let's see what frames I did remove. And just want to point out that the mirage is what makes the capsule vanish, not the curve. Light bends down into the more dense medium, so because it's coming over the curve, that downward bend is essentially, from our point of view, is bringing it up. But again, the flat earthers have trouble thinking in 3D. So let's just move ahead. I didn't want to show the whole thing, but I will show some parts of it. If we look through this slowly, we can see that first off, the object is already in view. We go forward one frame, and now it's in view on reds. So we can already see they're not lined up correctly. If we come forward to where it hits the water, reds is still a frame or two above that. So we'll go forward. Reds goes behind the horizon here, and then bang, there's already part of the splash on flatzoids moving forward. So when we first see the splash on reds, it's already a good 2-3 frames ahead on flatzoids, and then we've got oops, the same seal at real time. It looks instant. Well, no, it does look almost instant because it's a fraction of a second. Where flatzoid screwed up was well, he claims, and we'll hear him in a minute, but he claims that he was removing the inferior mirage. This isn't really quite, removing frames isn't the same thing as removing the mirage. But again, he doesn't understand this. But why in the original video did he just happen to remove the frames when it's showing a nice bit of large splash? And he actually removed some frames that were the beginning of the splash as well. So how did he know exactly how many frames to remove to account for the mirage? He removed all the time it was out of view, and then removed part of the splash. And the other problem was that he didn't tell anyone that in the video. So now he did play the original, full speed. Didn't look like he removed any frames there. But again, it's a fraction of a second. It's hard to notice. But when he did the slowed down version, he definitely removed frames. I think the count, the Reds and a couple other people, I think their count of about 11 frames, which they got to after, taking everything into account. I think that's pretty accurate. If we look, we've got splash, 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 splash. He's already come up at a large stage of the splash. I'd say where he first come up was probably around here. So he cut a large part of that splash out. And then he's put, next time, compare both video frames together. Again, this is Flatzoid's second video on the matter. If we move further forward on that video, we've got to take all the time you need to read this. I would suggest not making false claims before doing your homework first. Would expect a response from you now to Reds. Thank you for the time. I don't know if Red's ever responded. I haven't really gone through a lot of that, but we're now going to go to Flatzoid's third video. So second video since being caught out. Let's zoom in a bit on this as well. It says, too bad ball believers rather ignore the actual argument and rather place idiotic claims of dishonesty on me. Now, this is them trying to put lines there to show, obviously, the impact path, the mirror effect line, splash path, splash acceleration height indicator, or whatever. But these lines line up where they want them to at the end of the splash. They don't seem very accurate to me at the beginning of the splash. When I do my analysis of it, we're going to attempt to do that properly. You were hoping not to get caught, weren't you? I would bet money on that. It was very dishonest of you, and something that you'll notice flat earthers have no problem with. Us on the globe side, we tend to do honesty because We don't have to make things fit the model. They work just fine on their own.
Right, so this is the place you must start paying attention. You see, I'm just sorting out, showing you where the inferior mirage is starting, the top of it. You can clearly see it's an inferior mirage, aka it's optical. Anyway, as it goes on, I take the line away, you still see the inferior mirage. Let's see where the impact point is. Oh, wow, where was the impact point? Remember folks, I took the inferior mirage out. You know, the thing that doesn't show, so it's literally just taking out that delay.
I'm sorry, Flatzoid, what did you just say there?
Yeah, so it's literally just taking out that delay.
Oh, you were taking out that delay. So what, between the object disappearing and not even the start of the splash, the fact that there's just a delay, a gap there where we can't see the splash at all, shows that there's curvature. So basically, the delay that you made was the object disappearing until into the splash. Weird, isn't it? Like how the bit you took out makes it look like it hits instantly. Very dishonest, and you can say it was to remove the mirage, Flatzoid, but that's not how it would work. I'm sorry, but you're full. Why would it hit exactly on the horizon? Anyone that has not checked out Red's Rhetoric before, definitely go there. Links in the description. Does some fantastic work. Catches a lot of the launches, tracked the ISS, done some beautiful shots of the ISS in front of the moon. Fantastic channel, really good stuff.
This has been an argument I presented 3 years ago, where I was showing if I take an inferior mirage out, it shows that it doesn't go behind the curve. So their argument is you took our globe curve away. So it's in concession then that it's not a physical curve. But they butthurt about that, so now they're saying I'm dishonest. Even though I've shown in the video it with the mirage, and then after the mirage is removed.
Did you take some frames out originally and not tell anybody?
I showed the video with the inferior mirage. Shows how you
No. That's a question. Did you take some frames out originally when you first showed the video and did not tell anybody?
Every edited video takes.
Did you take 11 frames out to stop this mirage? Because you went on. Well, I'd like to say something. Did you went on afterwards and said you took the frames out because they were a mirage, but you took the frames out just as that capsule. Excuse me, I'm talking. As that capsule was getting to the horizon, did you take frames out at that point?
I took the inferior mirage frames out after I showed the inferior mirage.
So you took frames out. So everything that I said was true.
Poisoning the whale, and this has got nothing.
Everything that I said was true.
You showed everything and then showed it again, edited. Okay.
I can show you the video
to make your point with an edit.
Thank you so much for watching. Please like and share with your friends if you enjoyed it, and considering watching this video next, where we looked at Brian's logic and his inability to convert 2 dimensions to 3 dimensions in his head.
I want to be the best in the game, invest in my name, check no restraints, I'm obsessed with the pain, I ingest, I retain, assess and I change, possessed by the thought I'll be free one day from society's restraints, money, clout, and fame.